Hey, look, we're back. We figured it out. We figured it out. We've got it. We got it. Once again, it's the Mind Your Business podcast. It's your man JB with you, and we finally got everything straight. We've got Miss Lashonda Stanford. She's here. Finally, we were trying to work this thing out. We got it straight. My first question. We're just gonna jump into it.
Okay.
You have a bakery. Well, you have a couple.
True.
You've got
True.
You've got a couple. You were
As my husband would say, we're a small franchise, meaning two.
So let's find this out. How did you get your start? Because a lot of people want to know. They want to do it. They're trying to figure out how to do it. How did you guys do it?
Well, everyone always asks me that question, and I always tell them that it always starts with the need, right? I think most businesses start with the need for something. And for me, it was my daughter was turning 2, and she had turned 1, and we got a birthday cake from this great bakery. By the time she had turned 2, they were gone out of business. And so I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I was asking people, where can I get a birthday cake? And people were saying to me, like Walmart or grocery stores. And that just wasn't going to cut it for me. I'm from Kentucky. I want some good cake. I don't want cake that was shipped in the box. I want someone to make my cake with some love. And so I just kind of made it my mission to make this Elmo cake. And I had my husband. He was super instrumental in helping me because he's more artistic than I am. I like to bake more than decorate a cake. But so we kind of put our heads together, made this Elmo cake. And honestly, the rest is history because I took the cake out to the party. All my friends were like, oh my God, where'd you get that from? And I had to convince them that I made the cake with the icing still in the bowl, because not only did it taste delicious, but it looked really amazing too. And I always tell people that was the birth of Scratch. Now, just because that birth Scratch doesn't mean, that was it. From that, it was so much to get going, which is, just starting to pursue people and introduce them to our, what our bakery was, and introduce them to, this cake or this gooey bar or this carrot cake. And I would go to banks and give out, cake loaves, little loaves, and I would set up little events like Dimby Day and Dimby, or I would go to churches and set up and sell. And, I was just hungry for the, for that part of letting everybody know what this tastes like, because I feel like I had something good. I had something good going. And so one day I had gotten a really big order, and it was for the military. It was like a military ball. And so they said, we love you. We like you. We like your prices. We love your cake. Can we come see your store? And I said, oh, I'm just a home-based business at this point. And they said, oh, well, we're not going to be able to use you. And I was just so upset because they wanted, someone that had a brick and mortar. And my husband kind of looked with me with a defining moment, like, is this going to be a career or a hobby? What are you going to do at this point? Because if you're going to keep doing it like that, that's fine. But you won't get the big fish. You'll get the small fish.
Right,
and so I said, yeah, this is definitely going to be a career. And I think it was maybe a month or two probably after that I went and found the space, and the rest is history. And that was in Fort Worth. That was 10 years ago this week. So.
And so with that whole process, so one, how important is it to have a support system? Because your husband could have been like, look, hey, listen, you look, man, so one, how important is it to have a support system? And then two, did he know that when you guys got married, or, even during the dating scene, whenever, did he know that one, that you were, this is what you wanted to do, or was this something that he kind of fell into as well as, when you fell into it?
Well, let's be clear. We got married at 19 years old, so no one knew anything what we wanted to do. We've been married for 25 years coming up in February. So
congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you. But no, I certainly did not think I wanted to go to school or I wanted to open a bakery. I had no idea I wanted to do that. I went to school for to be a social worker. And so it's completely different route than what I'm in right now. But my husband always says, well, you still have, because I want to have a home for girls and a home for children that just needed a safe place. And And so my husband always says that's what Scratch is to this day, because we have 25 employees that all think that I'm their second mom, and I treat them like that. So he's like, you're still confident, you still have that goal in mind. But without a support system, I have these a group of friends that have been with me since the beginning, and they're like my little, you know, they're my pushers, is what I call them.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever I have an idea conceptually, it's my husband and it's like my five friends, and without them, it wouldn't happen, because I'm only just one part of a big entity. So if I have, you have to have that strong support system. He backs me up 100%. My friends back me up 100%, and they just help us move forward. Even when we first opened, we didn't have any employees, not even one. It was just literally friends and family of friends, and my husband and my children. Everyone would come in and do their part. My husband would make buttercream sometimes, and he had a full-time job, and my friends would come and wash dishes, and they would, come right on a cake or whatever it was I needed
Mm-hmm.
help with. They were just surrounding me with help, and I needed that help, even financial. When we first started, my husband had a great idea too. He says, "Look, I know some people that have more money than us, right? That are in our corner. So let's get with these people. Let's give them like a binder of like our goal to open a business and what we want to do, and let's see if they are willing to invest." So basically, you're going to your friends as an investor to open a business without going to a bank.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually said, "Hey, we'll give you interest," but no one accepted interest. But from that meeting, they knew that we were serious and we were driven and we were goal minded. And we got some money from some of those people. And we were able to open up Scratch that way without, getting any loans necessarily, like from a big chain.
Mm-hmm.
And in 1 year from the day that we borrowed that money, we gave that money back to them like we said we would within 1 year of business.
Wow.
I think a lot of people don't know that concept. I think the Asian community do this a lot. Like they'll
Mm-hmm.
come over and they'll also seed $5,000 to one family or something like that. Someone was telling me, and then they open up a shop, and once they're going good, then they then donate that money to another family, and so on and so on. But that's what we did here in this community, with me and my friends, and we just did the same thing. And so that's how Scratch started
And
with
I
hardly
think,
no money.
and that's good, and it's key
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
one of the biggest, I won't say misconceptions, but I think one of the biggest hindrances, or one of the things that keep people from starting a business
Hmm.
and moving forward is just be honest and clear. It's the finances.
Yeah, all
And
day.
yeah, and everybody thinks that, well, I'm not going to be able to get a loan. I can't even get a credit card. How am I get a loan for a business? Or
Hmm. Hmm.
but the fact that you and your husband were able to grab a hold of some of your friends and say,
Hmm.
hey, listen, this is what we're planning on doing. And you
Hmm.
prepared. It's
Yeah.
not like you just went to them, hey, man, I need some money. But,
Yeah, we didn't go half, we
mm,
didn't just go like, I think sometimes people assume because we're friends that you're just going to accept anything.
right.
But I was telling my daughter the other day, I don't know why I was telling her this, but I was saying to her, when you owe someone, and whoever that is, you don't eat before you pay them back. Like
Mm,
you need to make good on that. And I don't think some people, they just like, oh, you're okay. No, you give it back whether they need it or they don't, because you never know when you're gonna need it again. But they just knew we were serious and they saw the vision. Sometimes people got to see your vision. If they don't see your vision, they don't believe in what you're doing. They're not going to put their money in something they don't see.
mm,
So, they're like, okay, I see this. I see what this girl and this guy's doing. They're serious about this business. And so, I was talking to so many other businesses that open with small business loans, and that's fine that, if that's what you got to do. But that money's high too. So, it's like I knew a business that had, they had their lease they were paying, all their bills, employees, and then still a small business loan when they first opened. That's a lot
mm.
to pay.
Yeah,
And then you
yeah.
wonder why and how you're going to succeed. It's a lot. So if you can do things with as less um, money out front, loans as possible, then
Mhm.
please do that, because that's what helped us to
Well,
not have any debt really.
well, when did you know that it was time to open up another location?
You know what? So we were up. So what happened is we had opened in Port Work in was 2011, and in August 2011. by the next year, and it's so funny because, when you first are opening a business, no one really wants to just believe in you, right? I remember I called PTC and I was on the phone with them and I was saying, "Hey, I want to open up a business and a bakery there." And I was so ambitious and I was just like, "Oh, so excited." And they were like,
Mhm.
"Oh, well, unless you're a chain, don't even call us
Oh,
because we only
wow.
deal with chains. We don't deal with people that don't make us money. We don't have time to play around." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, I'm not a chain. I don't have this and this, but trust me, I think we got something good going.
Right.
But in that same phone call, I literally had a beep, and it was people in Pool Work saying, "Hey, come out and look at it. Look at the space that we had." And it was a very small space. Everyone said, "This is so small. How are you going to do it?" But you never despise small beginnings and you got to
Mhm.
start somewhere.
Mhm.
I would never ever tell someone to start with a new business concept and you start with all this space
Mhm.
because every square foot is $1 and when you're
Mhm.
leasing these buildings. And so you start out with this 2,000 square foot building and all you got is a cupcake. How are you going to pay your bills? That ain't even logic. So I don't know, but so I told them all we need is a register, a oven, and a display. That's all we need, and a
Mhm.
table and a sink. And so we were able to make it happen. We had to do our own build out. My husband, thank God for him, he's in architecture, and then we have good friends that are plumbers, and so they just kind of all did the whole build out
Mhm.
themselves. And so, but I say all this to say that in 1 year the landlord called me and said, "Hey, there's a line out the door. I think you need a bigger space."
Wow.
And I said, "Well, I don't know, maybe." He says, "Well, there's a store that went out of business 2 doors down from where you are." He says, "You can take that space over." And I said, "If it's not double the money, I'm interested.
Right.
Because if it's double
Right.
the space, it could be
Right.
double the money." And so we then moved in that space the second year, and we've been there for 9 years. But I think it's around the third year of business. I don't know what happened is we were driving, I think in Williamsburg, and I saw a little store that used to be a bakery. And I was like, "Oh, this is a great area. It's small enough. I think I can make this work." So I, took so I showed my husband and we showed some friends and they were like, "This is great." So I kind of jumped into that because the space was just ready.
Mhm.
It was
Mhm.
already ready for a
Okay.
bakery, and so we had a good time in Williamsburg. We did good
Mhm.
up there. But what I found is that the market that I was looking for was a community that Williamsburg just didn't give me.
Got it. Okay.
So Port Ward, people live there. People live above us. They live, down the street, and everyone comes in like every day. It's like everybody we know their names, and so with Williamsburg, it's more tourism. So we didn't know the people that was coming in. I feel like we just knew people every day, and it just wasn't the best for us.
Mhm.
So I was introduced to this area called Phoebus, which is in Port Ward. I mean, which is in uh,
Hampton.
Hampton.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, Phoebus, Mellon Street,
Right.
and by a friend named Lakeisha that owns Mango Mango, and she was saying, "Hey, you got to come to Phoebus." And I was like, "Phoebus? I don't know about no Phoebus. I'm in Williamsburg and Port Work. I'm okay." But make a long story short, the owner of the building had came to my bakery in Port Work. I didn't even know this, and he loved the desserts, and he wanted to see me in Phoebus. So they took care of everything for us to be in Phoebus. So it wasn't a long time before we had to do things ourselves, and people were saying no. Then a couple years later, after they see the work and the progress, they were calling us and they were paying to do the building for us to come in.
Wow.
And that's what you're looking for. You're looking for people to see and recognize and make a long story short, PTC actually contacted me a couple years later. I was like, "Hey, you want to come?" I was like, "No, no, no, we're good, we're
Oh,
good, we're good, we're
wow.
good."
And then how did and I'm just going to I can be petty at times. How did that feel? The fact that they ended up calling you back, and then in turn you had the option of saying now
Yeah,
you could say yes or no.
yeah.
Um, but what was that feeling?
Well, honey, I was feeling real good in my soul. Okay, I was like, first of all, I
Mm,
think I wanted to see him sweat a little bit. Like, well, what are you talking about? What are your
right,
terms?
right,
And
right, right, right.
but because at this point we have made a name for ourselves in
Yes.
such a short time. I don't even know how it's possible that we were in our garage and we were in our garage 10 years ago to literally opening up 3, 4 different stores, locations. And honestly, I think we could open up anywhere we wanted to at this point if we had more manpower. But it feels really good for people to see and recognize your hard work. I tell myself all the time, you cannot deny hard work. You
Right,
just can't
right.
deny it. And so if you're just putting out your best, people got to see it. And so I think that, I felt great to say, no, not, we're not interested right now.
Mm.
Not right now. Call us back.
That's
No,
yeah.
yeah.
That's got to be a great feeling. So and with that, I guess what are your hours like? And when I say your hours, not the hours of the store, because when it comes to running your own business, and especially if you have more than one location, you know, people see the success,
Yeah.
but they don't see the time, the effort, the energy, all of the things that happen behind the scenes, and that's the purpose of the show. But what is so on a regular day? What does your regular day look like?
Well, honestly, I've been pretty blessed because my days now don't look like my days before, if that makes any
Got
sense.
it. Yeah.
Because we do have a staff of 25. But, so Mondays are my days off, my day of rest, thank
Mm,
God.
mm,
But so if I start a day like I get up on a Tuesday, I might go do some, I might go to do some errands or do some groceries, and it might not start until like 8 or 9 o'clock. It's not too early. But I'll bounce around from each store. I might go to Newport News for like 4 hours, and then I'll
mm.
finish up my day in the Hampton location for another 4 hours. And the time I get home, sometimes it's 7, 8, 9 o'clock. If I have a truck event, then I'll be working until that morning until maybe 9 o'clock that night. So sometimes my days are stretched out, but sometimes my days are not.
Mm.
Sometimes I'm just checking on people and then I'll go and do something else. But my days before were extremely long, but my days now are not as long as they were before because we have so much, good help now. Because I'm going to tell you right now, there's no way we could run 2 stores successfully without all the help and all the employees and all the staff that we have. It's no way we could do it.
So prior to that, what were your hours like before you got to
Well,
that?
my hours before, oh God, I, I was just telling somebody at the bakery, I said, do you know that on Friday nights we would be at the bakery till midnight. I
Mm,
mean, and that would be from 7, 8 o'clock that morning,
mm.
doing, because when you're the only one really doing things, then you
Right.
gotta like stay after the store closes to then prepare all the cakes for the next day that's going out. And so you got to do what you got to do. So my days before were unimaginable. They
Mm,
were just
mm.
like, and I didn't I wasn't prepared for how much work initially it was going to take to, because I always tell my husband, I want a little small business that's going to be like the little Hallmark movies where it's a little small bakery and it's like snow outside. It's like, oh, hello, how are you guys? But when you walk into scratch, it's pure pandemonium, okay?
Mm.
Especially like during a holiday or something. Oh
Right.
my
Yeah.
God. And
Yeah.
well, I mean, we average, I don't know, 10, 15, 20,000 cupcakes a month. And it's
Jeez.
crazy. It's really crazy. And that's not including like all our cakes. And, every week we probably make 300, 400 pounds of
Jeez.
buttercream. I mean, it is a lot of work. People say, I
Lord
love to
mercy.
bake. I say, you like to bake, but when you have to bake 2,000 cupcakes in a day, it's not
Oh
fun
my
anymore.
gosh. Yeah.
It is what
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
doing,
That's a lot.
Yeah,
That's a
it's a
lot. Well,
lot.
I will say this. I was so excited about this weekend, and I posted it that I messed around and I baked a cake. I baked a cake on I think it was Friday night. I said, you know what?
Okay.
I went now. Listen, it wasn't nothing special. I went to the store. I got the little box. Did
Okay.
the but it came out okay.
Okay.
And so I was excited. So
Okay. Did you
what?
like use a little canned frosting? Did you make frosting? What'd you do with the
Listen,
frosting? Did you have
no,
any frosting?
look strictly from the can.
Oh
It
Lord.
was from the can. It was a box cake and it was canned icing.
Oh
And
Lord.
listen, I don't even know how. I had to call my wife to figure out how to get it out the bundt because it was stuck in the.
Oh
But it
Lord.
came.
Help
Listen,
us,
it came out
Jesus.
all right. My son, he's been smashing it. I ate it, so we were good. Um,
Okay.
but my question to you is this: when it comes to, and I know you can't give all your secrets, but when it comes to baking,
Mm-hmm.
what does it take to bake something? And I'm just, what does it take to bake something to where somebody really that they want to buy it? Like what is that take? What does it take?
You know, and that's a good question because taste is always subjective,
Mm,
and I
mm,
always say that because when someone says, well, I don't like it, I'm like, well, I mean, honestly, are you supposed to like everything? Because everyone likes different things. But I think what I have found is that if you do things correctly with good ingredients, meaning if you reach someone's taste buds and it's familiar to them.
mm,
I think people are looking for that familiar taste. Like my grandmother used to make this pound cake,
mm,
and
mhm.
I'm looking for that taste. And
Right.
and how did your grandmother do it? She did it with just raw ingredients because
Mm,
that's all she had in her kitchen, right? She did it with flour, sugar, and butter. That's what makes the whole world go round in my life. So, I think that when you get to reach someone's taste buds and they eat it like on the TV show when I had made the cheesecakes on the TV show and I made Carla Hall cry. I was just like, oh my God,
mm.
I'm cooking now, okay? Because she says this reminds me of home. Like you want to get to a place where you're making something that it makes them remember
Mm,
a
mm,
good memory, a good person, or where it came from. And for me, that's what I always try to do. I always tell my bakers in there, you know, I I have this one baker who is the girl's bad, okay? She's a white lady,
mm.
but I tell her you better bake like your old black granny is in your soul, okay? And she just cracks up. But what I'm saying to her is bake like you know it. Don't be unsure when you bake. And if you bake with, I always tell my other baker because she's just a little furious sometimes. I said, look, you gotta be nice because I need niceness to be in this cake. But you gotta bake with love.
Mm.
You gotta put time in it, energy and love in it. But I think that if you just do things with good ingredients and done right, then people are gonna respond to that. If that makes any sense, what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, because they listen. People responded to my cake this weekend.
You put some love in
I
it. That's
put love
all.
in it. I put love in it, and it's almost gone. I think it might just be a little corner left. So now you
That's
kind of
good.
alluded to something. Food
Okay.
Network.
Yes.
How did that happen? How did just behind the scenes the whole thing? How does it work? How did you end up on the Food Network doing what you do?
Oh my God, the Food Network. So, getting that call because yes, I got a call from them. And no one believe I think they're like, what do you mean you got a call from them? Like, they called me up. So I was literally at work and I had one of the young guys answer the phone. It's like Scratch Bakery. And he was like, oh, I don't think, I was doing something on the computer. He says, I don't think my boss is available, but I can give you a, phone call. He was like, oh, the Food Network? And I was like, if you don't give me that phone, boy, you about to lose a job. And a finger, okay? Give me the phone. And I'm like, hello, how can I help you? And they're like, well, this is the Food Network. And we just think that that'd be a great show for you. And I was like, for me? Like,
Mm,
I'm Lashonda down here in Virginia. How in the world do you know who
right,
I am?
right.
And they just said that they said we know you and we like you. I don't know. That's what they said to me. And I'm like, how do they know me? I guess because I make live videos and cut up all the time. I don't know. But um, from that, it went super fast. They called me, and the next day she says, well, do you want to do like your application the next day? And I'm like, okay. It was like 25 pages.
Jeez.
And the next day I was doing a podcast with four four producers from the Food Network
Mm,
the next day. And
mm,
from there, it was like a series of, okay, well, can you make this? And how vast in your knowledge are you? Can you do, because I'm self taught. And
mm,
I love to say I'm self taught, God taught,
mm,
because I don't want to get any credit for all the things that He just gives us. So they wanted to see how, I guess, good I was and could I make things. And so I had to do like some little time baking things, and I had to submit it to them and show them. And it was a lot. It was a
oh,
lot.
wow. Okay.
Yeah, but they said, "Look, we." Then they called me with the call. You're on the show. We love you. We love
Wow.
everything about you. We want you to come to LA. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Mm.
So we had to keep it so hush. My husband, I was wearing him out. You hear me? I was baking donuts morning, noon, and night. He's like, you don't take your tail to bed. I'm like, oh, I gotta bake this.
Right,
I was
right.
literally making stuff, because I watched all the shows at that point. I'm like, I gotta watch these shows. Oh my God, what am I gonna do? And you know what? You just don't know what you're doing until you get there, honestly, because it's all a different show and they all change it up every single episode. And you just don't know what you're going to do till you get there. But I said to my staff, it was very scary to leave two stores and, a staff for a long time. I could be
Mhm.
gone for, they said 1 day or 3 weeks, depending on how
Oh
well you do.
wow.
And,
Okay.
and I said, well, I'll probably go home first day. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just making up stuff. I'll probably go home. And make a long story short, I was there for 23 days in LA filming.
Jeez.
My staff never called me one time. My husband was like, don't y'all call her not one time. My husband say, look, because if you stress her out, she's not going
Right.
to be able to perform,
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they didn't call me for 3 weeks. 23 days or whatever, how long I was there in LA filming the show by myself. It was very tedious. It was very
Mm.
hard. But it was the best experience of my life. And I'm so glad I did it, not knowing what to expect, but I still did it anyway because it shows my children, because my children were like, are you going to just do this? You don't even know what you're going to do. I'm like, look, how do you know what you're going to do unless you do it?
Right.
How do you
Right.
know? You don't let fear stop you. You don't let fear paralyze you. You just go for it. And I ended up being, made it to the show before the last show, and so I did a good job. So I'm proud. I'm proud of
Listen,
myself too.
hey, yeah, that's. I mean, that's big. I mean, that is major on so many different levels. Especially, I mean, like you said, they called you.
They called me up.
They called you and wanted you to be on the show. Now, I guess my thing is they call you and say they want you to be on the show, but then you got to sit there and do all that extra baking and stuff, and it's like, well,
Oh
look,
my
man.
gosh,
Yeah, I
it was
said y'all wanted me on the
terrible.
show, but now you got me going through this and I'm doing applications. Come on now. Um,
I know.
yeah, that's a lot. So, for those of you that are just tuning in, it's the Mind Your Business podcast. I'm JB Harrison, and we do this every Monday. And we do it every Monday. We have super people on all the time. And tonight we have Miss Lashonda Stanford. She's on. She is one of, I guess, the owner and the head. What is your title there? What
I'm
is
just the
just
owner.
just
I'm
the
the
owner?
owner.
Okay, she's the owner. Scratch Bakery. Um, and not only that, she's the Food Network star. So you can't forget that piece. You gotta add that. You can't forget that. And she's here.
As my husband says, the international food baking star or something. I'm like, teacher, be quiet, but
Oh yeah,
that's what.
yes, definitely. So we're just having a conversation. We're talking about just how this whole entrepreneurship works.
Hmm.
The ins, the outs, the highs, the lows, the good, the bad, the ugly that comes with it. Because a lot of times people want to start their own businesses,
Hmm.
but they don't understand what it takes for a business to thrive, for it to start, and not only be successful, but just to get it off the ground. And so we want to empower these people, empower the future entrepreneurs to understand what it takes. And who else better to have people on like you?
Well, no, thank you. Well, I'm just super excited to be on the show. I was like, mind your business. I love that because I say that all the time. You better mind your business. So I thought it was a great, great name. I was like, oh
Yes.
yeah,
Well,
I'm
I,
in. I'm all in.
I
So.
I appreciate it, and I know you've got a hectic schedule, and the big thing about it is this: we tried to do it earlier. We had headaches, we had technical difficulties, but we finally hung in there. We persevered, and we got it right. And she's
Yeah.
on. You can hear her, you can see her, and you get a chance to just kind of hear the story and all the things that go into what she's doing. Now, you said you were self-taught.
Hmm.
So being self-taught, how intimidating is that? One, when it comes to, for instance, when you're hiring people that have been to school
Hmm.
and they have the paperwork or whatever the case may be. How intimidating is that? Even though you're still the boss, but then two, also, what is it like when you're going on shows like Food Network and you're
Hmm.
self-taught and you have to go up against these people that have the degrees and whatever,
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
like you didn't let it stop you, but what is that like sometimes?
Well, in order to bake in my kitchen, you usually have to have a culinary degree.
Got it. Okay.
Because that gives you one step ahead of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say that my staff, my bakers have culinary degrees, and I can still bake them under the table. So it really don't mean much. At least, hopefully, you know what a teaspoon and a tablespoon is. That's what I'm looking for at this point. Just knowledge. But I tell them, look, I haven't been to culinary school, but I have been in my granny's kitchen, you know, or the person who raised me, and I know how to make this pound cake, and now you need to do, because what I found is that yes, the people that I have, they're from all over walks. I mean, they have degrees from every culinary school that you can imagine, and I asked them, make me some caramel, and they're like, well, do you mean well, how do they don't know how to do it? So, and I always say to them, what did you guys learn in culinary school? Because I mean, you're not. I mean, did they not teach you to whip the eggs and the butter for the pound cake for 5 minutes before, or are you just gonna just put the egg and the butter in there and just put the flour in there? No, 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 no. So, it. I'm not intimidated at all, because when I get in there teaching them, I show them, they tell me, oh my God, you just, they always say to me, your cake tastes better than ours all the time. Your cake never falls and mine does. Oh, Miss Lashonda's food looks way better than ours. And I tell them it's not about looking better. It's just about taking your time, putting love in it, putting some energy in it, but just knowing what you're doing. And that did not come overnight. I didn't just get in the kitchen knowing that. I mean, God knows I would make a recipe. My husband would say, nope, that ain't it. And I would say, yes, it is. He's like, no, that ain't it. But it just took a long process. So I definitely don't care about you with your culinary degree, because I know what I'm doing. So I'm confident, I'm secure in that. And everybody that has come through my kitchen, I'm still steadily every day teaching them. So I'm okay with them, having a degree. I want them to be better than me and greater than me. At this point, they haven't got that yet, but we're working on it. I'll always mess with them though. I'm like, what are y'all doing in this kitchen? But and for the show, I was telling my daughter, I love being the underdog. I want to be underestimated. I want you to, because then you don't know what's coming. I think that on the show, I was saying, look, you guys are great. Okay, I'm just who I am, but you guys are great. And and then they would hear the comments from the judges, and they would be like, "Are you kidding me? Like, what did you make for them to like your food so much?" I'm like, "I don't know. I just baked. What did you do?" I think sometimes people put too much into it. I remember one girl had done all this stuff, and I'm like, "You should have just made this." Like sometimes you just do too much,
Right.
and
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
that you don't need all of that. You just need to have simple ingredients done right, and you just need to be confident in what you're doing. The one time on the show that messed me up, I was trying to make 2 or 3 different things. I was like, look, it's messing me up. I should have just made the one thing right, and I would have been okay with that. But no, I don't care about them having degrees. I want them to.
Yeah, and because that happens a lot. It happens a lot with, you know, I know people at jobs right now that are working jobs, and they may know the job like the back of their hand. And then you get somebody in here that has a degree but has no clue on what it takes to do the job.
Because it's experience.
Right.
Experience is the best teacher. Experience tells me when that buttercream is making a certain noise in that mixer to turn it off. Experience does not tell my culinary degree employee to turn that buttercream off. Now you're over whipping it. You're putting too much air in it. You're not going to know that unless you have done it and you have, experienced it. When I'm making my pie dough and I'm rolling it out, I'm looking for a certain texture that she just don't even know what I'm looking for, because she's just looking by the books. You do this and this and this. Everything is not by the books.
Right. Right.
Sometimes it is. You got to put your right ingredients by the books, but how you make it is not by the books sometimes. And so,
And so with that, if so for someone that is looking at starting a business, well, and we'll say in the culinary field, say they want to open up a bakery. What is what is what is one thing that you would tell them about? Hey, I know you want to do this, but there's this one thing right here.
Mm-hmm.
that could keep them either it can help them succeed or keep them from sinking?
Well,
And
I
it may be more than one.
yeah, I would first start off by saying, don't be discouraged by what you see initially. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I think people open up a business and they automatically assume the first week they're gonna have a line at the door.
Right.
That just ain't true.
Mm-hmm.
You might have a line at the door for your grand opening, but the next day you might not see nobody in there.
Mm-hmm.
So just not being disappointed or discouraged when you don't see the numbers and stuff that you're looking for. Secondly, I think a lot of small businesses fail because they don't want to hire employees. They want to have their aunties and their sisters and their brothers and their cousins in there, and they
Mm-hmm.
don't want to hire. They don't want to have a staff.
Right. Right.
Without a staff, I wouldn't have been able to do a national television show. If they were to call me up and say, "Hey, will you come?" and I didn't have a staff, I couldn't come without shutting down my business. But I was gone. My business was still making money, and I was on the road. So, um, I think that, and I see that so many times, is that small business will say, well, I don't have money to, hire an employee. Well, you don't have money not to hire an employee, because the more employees that you get to help you, the more time you can grow your business in other places. I cannot be always in the kitchen making a cupcake. I have to be out making money for the business
Mm-hmm.
and making different avenues and making different partnerships and making different mediums and doing other things. And so you can't do that if you're in the kitchen all day. You just can't.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be able to delegate and have a staff and hire them and teach them and be confident in your staff. My husband always says, look, if you have a business that you can't get away from, you have a job. If you can leave that place, then you have a business. If you can trust those employees to do their job, then you have a business. But if you got to be there every day, then you just got a job too. So I think that's key. And I think staying true to what you know, because we've been in business for 10 years, and so we've seen so many places come and go, different trends and things that I'm like, well, maybe we should just do that too. Maybe we should just do a little bundt cake. No, I'm joking. Maybe we should just do something else. but you got to stay true to yourself, and stay true to what that you do best, and don't steer away from that.
What is it I've talked to different entrepreneurs, and they said one of the biggest things for them, one of the biggest enemies with starting a business or whatever, is comparison.
Hmm.
Comparing yourself to someone else that
Yeah.
may do the same thing that you're doing.
Yeah, that
Uh,
that is huge, and that really is huge, honestly, because you want to know where you line up.
mm,
You want to know where are you on that totem pole.
mm,
With other competitors or whatever. But what I have, I used to be like really bad with that. Like, oh my God,
mm,
are we doing okay? And my husband said, look, you just do what you do best, and just steady the game and
mm,
don't worry about that. And what I found is that when I wasn't so concentrated on what someone else's business was doing, I could focus more energy on my own business, right?
mm,
And I can make my own business greater and better than trying to focus on what the next person's doing. What I found is the next person didn't even stay in business, so I don't know why I was worried about
mm,
them. But just steady your part. Just do what you're doing. Do what you're doing great, and you cannot people have to see that. They have to recognize that. When we first got into Fort Worth, there's another business owner there. He says, look, you got to be the destination spot. You got to be the place that people are coming to. Don't rely on foot traffic. Foot traffic is not going to keep you busy, keep you, your doors open, because people might not ever just walk past, and come into your store. But you got to be the place where people are saying, I'm trying to get to Scratch. Where are they at? Are they right here? I'm trying to
mm,
get to them, and be that destination spot. So that's what you're looking for.
mm. And now you moved to Phoebus, and
Hmm.
if I'm right, you were in one location, and then
Yep.
you ended up, now you're in a different location, but still in Phoebus as well?
Yeah. So yeah, and I'm gonna let my husband chime in on this part too,
Got
because he
okay.
was he was super super great. Can
Uh,
you come help me out? Can you help me out a little bit, Dietrich?
yeah,
So
he helped out a lot behind the scenes. He was the technical guy. He was getting us straight into
can
everything,
you
man.
hear? I know he's always a technical guy. I told you he's the money man.
Oh
He
yeah.
does all of that stuff.
Yeah, let's talk to the
Um,
money man.
oh, switch. So yeah, so we were in Phoebus for about 4 years, and the owners that came to us with an opportunity to move into another space across the street.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a little leery because again, we're in about 500 square feet across the, in our old store in Phoebus. And the store across the street was about 5,000. So I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I don't know about that. You know why? Because I was complacent and I was comfortable where we
Got
were.
it. Right. Okay.
But where we were was no growth
Mm-hmm.
because it was too small. We couldn't do anything other than what we were already doing. But we saw the potential for growth, but we just didn't have the space for growth.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I had to talk to my husband, say, look, what do you think? He was like, oh, no, either. But we kind of were like, no. But after several meetings with the landlord, he was like, look, I feel like you guys are great and something special. So he really believed in us. And so my husband said, okay, we're going to do this. Then we're going to do what?
So hey, how you doing? I'm glad to be on with you. um, um, when that opportunity came up, when the landlord where we were pitched the idea of the larger space across the street, it was way out of our comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
It was larger than our flagship store.
Mm-hmm.
It was larger than the store that we, had built from that whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were like, well, it took us, at this point, 7 years, 8 years, blood, sweat, and tears, nights, me working at work and then working at the
Mm-hmm.
business after work.
Mm-hmm.
And then her working all day, sometimes into the night, late into the night, to where I was worried, making sure she get home on time to
With
get
small
that
children at
with
that
small
time.
children at
Yeah.
the time to get that. And now you're saying just jump into something bigger, almost with the snap of the finger. It was like, yeah, that's too much for us. And
Because
we really were not interested in the
because I
beginning.
think in business we're pretty cautious.
Yes.
I think we kind of just we're really cautious because we like to pay our bills in one day, and we just like to
Yeah.
be relaxed, and so we were like, oh, that's a whole lot. So
Well, we grew up, we grew up um we grew up in the hood. There's no other way to say it. We grew up
straight
under
up,
scarcity. We grew up under lack. We
yeah.
grew up under hand to mouth mentality. We
Mm-hmm.
grew up under don't wait, waste not, want not. We grew up under getting in trouble for spilling milk. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you wasting that milk. You wasting, you get in trouble for that.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't want to waste anything that we had. So we were very cautious. And so we had to attack that mentality of saying, we're not in a lack mentality. We're in a growth and we're in an abundance mentality. And we had to push beyond what we were comfortable to say. If they believe in us, we see the opportunity. And when they said, take the whole space, first we were saying we could take a little carved piece of it.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, well, it's going to cost us more money to carve it up.
Right.
So that means your rent's going to be higher. So
Mm-hmm.
we can compromise on the rents if you take the whole space versus carving it up, because it costs us more money. And we were like, okay, well, that's starting to make sense. And then we kind of said, well, if we're going with basically 4 times the space is what we were looking at for the store, then we had to expand our our revenues by
Mm-hmm.
4.
Mm-hmm.
So we said, well, what can we grow? We knew we could grow ice cream. We knew we could grow coffee. Um, we looked at those as areas as great growth, and then we said, well, we got to bring in some light fare food. We have to mine, open up another river. We got to fish from another river if we're going to be able to handle this big undertaking.
Mm-hmm.
And so we introduced sandwiches, salad, sandwiches, and then coffee, and then our dessert, and then our ice cream, all in the same store. So I tell people it's like you got Starbucks meets Panera meets Scratch meets Baskin Robbins. We don't want you to leave. We want you to stay there all day, spend
Right.
all your
Right.
money. We
Yeah.
want you to be
Get it
there
all. Get it all.
all day.
Breakfast, lunch, and
Yeah.
dinner.
So I told our staff, I said, but again, I knew we had to do things good quality, And someone would just tell me, they said, like, what kind of sandwiches? Like, y'all, this is crazy. This is so delicious. I'm like, they said, we know it's quality, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, that's exactly what it is, because we get our own meats. I said, I have our staff like cutting shaved meats. We're cutting our meats, slicing our cheese. We're making our own aioli sauces, and we're cutting up fresh avocados. We're doing all this on top of our bakery stuff, you
Mm.
know. And so, but I told my staff, well, it's not going to be that much. We're making our own butter, Italian butter. I said, we'll probably have like, 4 or 5 sandwiches a day, because how are we going to like let people know that now we are doing
Right.
sandwiches on top of everything else? I tell you what, the first week we had done 200 sandwiches, and I was like, oh, okay, I was wrong. I underestimated exactly how much we were going to be doing, and I think we're averaging about 1,000 sandwiches about every about 3 or 4 weeks.
Oh
So
wow.
we're doing a whole
Wow.
lot. But
Wow.
again, it's just good ingredients, good quality, and it's just you can't
What
help but to
and
get your money's
also
worth.
also where we fit on Mellon Street, you have really high end eateries such as Mango.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
They just brought in, the winery,
Mm-hmm.
yes,
Fox
that's good.
Winery.
Yeah.
High end foods that you can get from them. I think the Baker's Wife. I haven't tried them
Yeah,
yet, but
Fuller's is great.
Fuller's is great. Fuller's,
Diablo.
I recommend Fuller's if anybody's down there want to eat. I recommend Mango and Fuller's because they've been there. And so there's a lot of high end eateries getting oysters and steaks and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Creole and all this kind of stuff. But if you just want a sandwich for lunch and a salad and to go, we really fit in. Now I know some of
But
them do.
delicious.
Yeah, now I know some of them do some of that, but that's all we do. And
Hmm.
so it really fits in kind of like a buffer zone for those who don't want to go spend
Mm.
high end
Yeah.
at the time,
So it's a
but
good
just want to
price
grab
point, very
something.
good
Got it.
price
Yeah.
Got
point.
it.
$10 sandwiches, and
Mm-hmm.
so that's what. So we're excited about that new move, that new
Now
venture.
you kind of you said something about business, and you said you guys wanted to be cautious. You wanted to be
Hmm.
cautious. You wanted to make sure that the move was calculated and things of that nature. So let me ask you
Hmm.
this, because you hear a lot of different things in business. For you guys, does being cautious, does that pay off more, and is it more beneficial for you guys? And have you seen being cautious benefit you guys in the long run?
100%. I think being cautious keeps us in business.
Mm,
Again, I see people that have opened brand new businesses, and it is literally like 10,000 square feet, and I'm like, how in the
Yeah.
world?
And we buy their equipment at auction all the time.
So true.
oh
because
man.
because they go into it meaning like they have to have the best of the best
Right,
equipment, and
right, right,
you
right.
know and so because we know how to do little with much, we buy used. I buy as much used if I can get. I'm not If I can get it and it's right there, I'm going to buy that instead of going out and opening a book and saying I want this to cost
Right, right,
$25,000. So
right.
again, we operate on as little debt as possible, so we can then live comfortably and pay
Mm-hmm.
all our bills. And, even with the pandemic, people were saying, oh my God, how did you guys do? Well, we didn't close not one day, because we were actually busier because of because the show aired in December of last year.
Got it. Okay.
And then we were just busy anyway, because people were ordering on DoorDash and Grubhub and
Right,
Postmates, and
right.
we have all of those things as
Well, and
well.
this is something that I really give my wife credit on is really, having the foresight about the delivery services and understanding that our product was perfect for the delivery
Perfect.
services.
Mm,
When Grubhub first came around, and I think Grubhub was the first one, or was it Uber
I think
Eats?
it's Uber Eats.
Maybe Uber Eats was the first one. And I kind of said to myself, well, why are we going to pay
A
Uber
percentage.
Eats a percentage of our cake when they could just come in and get it? Like I was on the fence. Now,
mm,
my
mm.
wife was like, and you'll see that cautiousness. She's a little less cautious than I am. I'm a little more cautious. So we kind of balance each other out.
Mm.
But she really fought and said, you know what, I see the potential in this. And I said, okay. I said, we'll try it. And then we had Grubhub, we had
We have
Uber
all of them.
Eats, we have our Uber
Yeah,
Eats, Postmates, all of them.
yeah.
And they were just kind of limping along until everything shut down.
Right, right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And then the
yeah.
pads start going bing, bing,
Mm-hmm.
bing,
I
bing,
mean,
bing,
it
bing.
was crazy. The pads were ringing off the hook, and we were like, "This is crazy." We were making our same numbers, that we were as
Well,
people coming in the
there was a dip.
store.
I mean, everyone took a dip,
Um,
but
Mm-hmm.
but
But the
on the
pads made up
recovery
for
was
that.
good. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because we already had it in place. And then I saw people trying to get, business trying to get these services,
Right,
but
right.
we had them for a long time, and that really helped us out for sure.
Mm. Well,
So
that's good.
you always got to be moving and growing and staying in
Right,
business, and you
right.
can't be stagnant. And I
Yeah.
think that's another thing too. I feel like you have these old mom and pop stores or small businesses, and they just are right there, like this is all we got. We ain't got
Mm-hmm.
nothing else. We're not doing
Mm-hmm.
nothing else. Do you have DoorDash? No, we just come in. That's it. Like I feel like you gotta always be moving, and if
Right.
you see what's ahead, you gotta jump on that because you don't want to be left behind in the movement. You don't want to be left behind in 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 the advance in the advancement of
Mm-hmm.
business. You don't want to just be sitting there and people are moving forward and you're like, well, how are y'all moving forward, and how are you? I really believe in always moving and putting ourselves out there as a business, and so putting ourselves everywhere we can be at.
Well, and you mentioned the cautiousness. I think we're not cautious to our hurt.
Mm-hmm.
We're cautious as a rule. I think Warren Buffett said it, and maybe Warren Buffett, be cautious when everyone else is being risky, and then be risky when everyone else is being cautious.
Mm.
We opened our store at the height of the housing bubble.
Got it. Got it.
2011.
It's a
Every
pandemic.
Yeah, well, it was a financial
Yeah.
pandemic in 2011 when everything was just dipping, 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 and we kind of said, yeah, but people may not buy that new condo, but they can buy a cupcake. And so we,
And people want to feel good. They want to
Right.
have something they
Right.
can go to
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
familiar to them.
Yeah.
I always tell people, look, we got a $3 cupcake. We don't have a $50,000 car, so they're
Mm-hmm.
gonna buy that $3 cupcake because they want to eat. They want to feel good, if nothing else.
Yeah. Okay.
and
Yeah.
we take the risk when we need to. Like, um, there have been times where we were kind of cautious on spending advertising money,
Mm-hmm.
or which magazine to put. Especially these bridal magazines, they want so much money up front,
Mm-hmm.
and doing these bridal shows back when they used to do them. They want all this money up front, and you're like, I just got to give up, $3,000-$4,000,
Yeah,
and for what,
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to take certain calculated risks, taking
Got it.
risks when you need to. Don't risk everything all the time.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
But when it's time to put the chips in, it's time to go.
Got to
yeah.
do it. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So and you guys and I'm listening. You also said how you came from the hood. Like you came
Straight
from the
up.
hood. You guys were raised a certain
Yeah.
way,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
and and it's funny because we kind of had this conversation earlier, my wife and my cousin. And so, how did you? Because understand being raised in the hood, and if you had that same mentality, you probably wouldn't be doing what you're doing today.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm. Yep.
so, what was it that kind of broke those chains and that changed your mentality to say, hey, we're going to start this business. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Where was that point? What was that point? How did that happen? And
Go ahead. I'll let you go.
Well, I mean, it starts before the business, because if you don't really deal with those mental blocks,
mm,
that people who grow up a certain way have,
mm,
you're never gonna venture out. We have family members that have almost never left their city, never left their neighborhood, because
Mm-hmm.
it's all they know.
right.
And we would have been the same way. I'll just speak for me, and I know there's a situation that you could talk about as well, where I got on the wrong bus one day,
Mm-hmm.
and I got on the wrong bus to go home when I was about 16, and it went through the richer parts of town.
It's a city bus.
It
Yeah.
was a city bus. I got on the wrong city bus, and it went on a different loop than I normally rode. And my bus took maybe 8 minutes to get home where I was
Mm,
in the hood.
mm,
But I got on this bus, it took me 30 minutes, 45 minutes to go around the whole loop.
Oh, this is where they live.
And it was neighborhood after neighborhood of nice neighborhood, nice neighborhood,
wow.
nice neighborhood. And it just clicked. The light bulb it's almost like God just slapped me in the head, said, most people don't live like you live.
Mm,
And it just hit me like, wait a minute. It took me 8 minutes to get to the hood. It took me 45 minutes to go through the nice neighborhoods. There must be more nice neighborhoods.
mm,
There must be something out here for us. So that seed for me is where it started to say, I can have more. And then that went into our education. even trying to go to college, all that kind of bled into all of that. That's where it started for me.
Oh, you got on the right. You got on the right bus, man. That was the
You're
right
right
bus for
about it.
you.
He
Yeah,
definitely got the right
yeah.
person. I was just telling one of our employees that I said, look, it's more out there than what you know. You just got to know it, that it's out there. You got to know that it's achievable and it's reachable and it's attainable. But, for me, it was, adding God into my life. And
Hmm.
with God in my life, I saw that literally I wasn't limited on anything. I was just like, I just had the audacity to dream. And I was just like, if it's out there, I can go get it. And I don't have to be restricted. I don't have to have any boundaries. It's just available for me. So I just felt it's available for me straight up. Like I can take this. And I don't have to be in the hood. I don't have to be in the worst part of the neighborhood to have a business. I can go anywhere I want
Hmm.
to open a business. I think some people think that too. Well, let me just start here. Why? I mean, you can start anywhere you want to start,
Right.
and you can create any kind of business you want to create. I know I have a friend who always laughs. She's like, "You got so many vast people in here," because our staff is white, Asian, Black. I
We
mean,
have
it's just
Chinese,
so
everything.
vast
Yeah.
of people that work for us. And so when people come in, they always say, I know I heard someone over talking one time they said, I think it's this Asian girl who owns the bakery down there, and I was cracking up. I'm thinking I'm the owner, but guess what? When you walk in McDonald's, you don't know who owns McDonald's. You just
Right,
know somebody
right.
owns it.
Yep.
Right.
So
Yeah.
to me, that's a good testament because sometimes I feel like us African American people, we open a business. My husband always says,
Hmm.
don't open a Black business, don't open a white business, open a business.
Just open a good
Just
business.
open a business.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, just open a business and let everybody come into that business,
Right,
And
right.
so we are not just limited on who we let work for us and where we have a business at. It could be the highest neighborhood or any demographic. We're just not limited on any of it.
Well, I'll say this. First and foremost, I appreciate you guys taking the time out. I know because when it comes to entrepreneurship, time is time. Time is money. And I appreciate you guys taking the time out to have this conversation. I thank you for working through the technical difficulties and
We
being
made
able
it.
to, yeah, make this thing happen because I think it was really good. You guys said some things that are really going to help a lot of people that are looking at wanting to start their own businesses.
Well,
Uh,
I hope. I
and
really do.
yeah, and to find out that you can be successful at it. Now it's going to take some
Yeah.
work,
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
but to see that you guys were able to do it, you're still doing it. You're still moving. You're still putting things together. You were able to survive the pandemic,
Hmm.
uh, and that is, I mean, it's that says and it means a lot. So
Hmm.
I do. I appreciate you guys. Now the one way that we close the show out
Okay.
is give me your highest high and your lowest low when it came to or when it comes to your journey of entrepreneurship. Now you can choose either one you want to go with first or second. That's on you. But I want to know what your highest high was and what your lowest low was.
I thought you was gonna ask me for my highest money. I was gonna say, now wait a minute. Now wait a minute. Mind your business. I was gonna say, you gotta mind your business now. I'm just joking. Okay, Dietrich, I'll let you go.
I'll do the lowest low. I'll do the lowest low. About a little over 10 years ago, my wife was putting in a bid for an Air Force ball, and she was putting in the bid, and we were working. I had looked into renting a truck to deliver. They needed, thousands of desserts, for this ball, and they were like, yeah, they were like they were gonna go with us, and then they said okay, we need to come and inspect your store so
Mm.
that we can give you the contract. And my wife says, well, my store is in my garage. So
Mm.
that was a low to have, like a
Because
major
we had done a lot of
thing,
work.
done a lot of
Right.
Right,
work, and it was
right.
like, and the bubble was popped a little bit, but from that low birthed a desire to say, you know what, we can't just stay where we're at.
Mm.
We got to get out from just making stuff in the garage and go find a brick and mortar place.
Do you have a high too?
A high? Oh, my high is every day getting to work with you.
Oh my
Oh
God. I'm not
man.
gonna get you no more
There
points.
it
Okay.
is. Yes.
That's my high.
That's it right there. Oh man. Okay.
um, for me, you know what? I think one of my lowest points were in business, right? You know, in business, we had someone, we had an employee that was with us for working maybe 3 or 4 years. I mean, our backbone employee.
Yeah.
And one day, my husband was doing the books, and he said something ain't right about this
Mhm.
register. And I said, "Do you think?" And he says, "No." But you know, I always say he's the man. He's the forensics. He gets in that money, and and I'll be like, "Oh,
Mhm.
it's okay. It's probably just a mix up." You know, I'm a little too gullible when it comes to that. Because I just think I don't I think good of everyone.
Right.
That's
Right.
my
Right.
problem. It's like, oh well, ain't nobody done that. These are kids here and da 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 da. And he was like, "No, I'm gonna look at these cameras." And so, make a long story short, he called me in. It was around Easter because I was Easter shopping with my children, and he's like, "I gotta show you something on the cameras."
Mm.
It was one of our number one employees was putting money right in her pockets.
Oh man.
And so, along with the people that you have working for you,
Right. Right.
you have that too. But it was just so strange to me because I feel
As a
like when
small
you're a small
business.
business,
Mm.
you understand the struggles of a small
Right.
business
Right.
if
Yeah.
you work for one.
Yep.
So you understand that we're not rich by any
Mhm.
means, and
Mhm.
that we're paying stuff as we go. And so if we're paying you, then and you see our struggles, why would you take any more? Especially if you would have asked, and I would have given you everything that we
We
had.
would have given her
And
advance if she
so
was in need,
so
Mhm.
you
you
know.
have to recognize that's some low when you're working hard, and people are just taking from you, and
Mhm.
you don't there's no reason to. So
Yeah.
to me, that's a big low, because you just trust people. And then I received a message from her the next day. Says, "I don't know why I did that. This was the best job I ever had in my life,
Wow.
and I'm just extremely sorry." So, that happens, and you got to deal with it.
Yeah.
It is what it is. So that was a real low for me,
Mhm.
to know that, at the end of the day, people are people, and you just don't know.
Right.
But
Yeah.
for me, a real high was, you know, every day I tell the staff, "Look, y'all better get it together." I always mess with them. You better get it together, because we're about to be on TV, and we're about to be famous. And da, 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 da. I just always mess with them. And
Mhm.
they're like, "Well, when? Well, what's going to happen?" Well, one day the Food Network just literally called us up. And you can't get any bigger for a food person
Right.
than to be on the
Right.
Food
Food
Network.
Network. Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know of another show, or another network better for me to be on,
Mhm.
than the longest show that the Food Network has, which is an 8-week series. I was on the show for 7 weeks straight.
Mhm.
You can't get no better than that. So, but for me and for my staff to see, how I say to them every day, "Get it together, because somebody famous might be coming in here. Get it together. We got to do
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Put out your best work all the time. Put out your
Mhm.
best cake every day. Put out your best, 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 best. Do your best, 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 best." I just
Hmm.
repeat that every day to them, because I want them to know greatness will follow you if you do your greatest and your best work every day. People have to recognize that, and somebody just recognized that for me. And so on the show, you saw me crying a lot, like, "Oh my God," because when you get compliments like, "This food is, my food is good, but your food is better than my food." These are
Mhm.
national judges all over
Yeah.
the world. You can't get
Bacon icons like
Right.
Duff.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
any better compliment than that. So for me, I don't got no other high than being on national TV. Somebody saying my cake is better than theirs. So
Yeah.
that's the
That's
biggest high
yeah.
I
That's
got.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
major right there. So
Yeah.
once again, I appreciate you guys. I really do. And we'll figure something out. We'll have another conversation later down the line, probably when you guys open up your next spot, or who knows,
Who
Who
knows?
knows?
your next appearance on Food Network,
Who
or
knows?
whatever. But we'll definitely have this conversation again.
Okay.
And look, once again, I appreciate you guys for just taking the time out and having this conversation, and hopefully inspiring some future entrepreneurs to take that first step.
Yes, failure to launch is what always holds us back.
Mm,
Just don't just jump out there.
and do it.
Jump out there and do
Grow
it.
organic. Take your time.
Just do
Let
it.
things
Just
happen.
do it. Just do
Nice.
it.
Okay. All right.
Tomorrow, go call somebody and say, "Hey, what is this building? How
Tonight.
do I get in it?" Tonight.
Tonight. Send an email.
Don't be scared. Don't be scared.
Nice. Well, thanks again. Once again, you guys, thanks again to Lashonda and Dietrich Sanford of Scratch Bakery. I appreciate you guys, and thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank
All right.
you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Hey, you guys. So that's what it is. We got a chance to chop it up. It's a Mind Your Business podcast, powered by Hanging with the Harrisons. I appreciate everybody for hanging out with us, tuning in, staying attached, staying tuned in. And we do this on Mondays. We have these conversations. And if you want to support, feel free to. That's the Cash App. Once again, I'm JB Harrison. It's the Mind Your Business podcast, powered by Hanging with the Harrisons. And we will talk real soon.